Hey YouTube, today I'm actually checking out something different for a change. I'm going to watch the Final Fantasy documentary 1.0. I've heard a lot about it from NoClip, and I wanted to check it out. As always, make sure to like any videos you're watching and subscribe to the channel just to make sure that you support them, okay? So I figure we can give this a shot, learn a bit of the history that I don't know about Final Fantasy. So let's get into it. And chat, let me know if the volume is good.
Square is buried deep into the culture of Japan. Originally a spin-off from Masafumi Miyamoto's father's Powerline construction firm, for over 30 years its games have helped power the rise of Japanese games development. There are no shortage of games that live under the Square Enix banner, but none as big as Final Fantasy. From our Western perspective, there's an air of mythos around the company. The accepted truth behind the series' title is that it was named Final Fantasy as it was Square's make-or-break game to avoid impending bankruptcy. And even if the real answer has more to do with creating an acronym that could be pronounced by both Eastern and Western audiences, it's that first story that gets told. That's the legacy of this series. Stories about adventures that get passed from generation to generation, as nearby as the arcades of Akihabara and as far as the playgrounds of Europe. As the Final Fantasy series has moved from numeral to numeral, there have been high points and low, but with each new game comes the promise of—
who are you to say there's been higher lows? There's definitely been lows, chat.
a new story, a new myth. The story of what happened with Final Fantasy XIV is one such myth. What we know about it comes from old reviews, archived message board threads, and through conversations with those who were there. The reason for this is that the original version of Final Fantasy XIV doesn't exist anymore. Unlike the vast majority of other old games, there is no way of playing it. It was redacted, painted over. Where once stood a game that threatened to sink the Final Fantasy brand forever, now stands the second most popular subscription MMO in the world. And as the years pass us, the myth of that original version and its incredible redemption story are at risk of disappearing. How did it all happen? How did the same studio that shipped a broken mess turn it all around in 2 years? Why did they make the decision to keep—
I gotta stop here real quick. NoClip has a great voice for documentaries. Obviously, it's a documentary channel, so it makes sense, but it still bears repeating that his voice is gorgeous. We asked for Legacy servers and Yoshi P's response was nightmare. Well, I mean, usually fans create Legacy servers too. Like, I know, like, before Classic World of Warcraft, there was a lot of people making, like, their own fan servers of the old game.
the old version still alive while secretly working on a brand new game? And how did they manage to make all of this, the redesign and rebirth, part of the game's lore? We knew this was a story worth telling, not only for those who were there to see it all go down, but for the millions of you who have never heard about this, who never knew the extraordinary lengths the development team went to save this game. So we did just that.
Danny O'Dwyer, he's the voice. Excellent, that's good to know. No Legacy servers at all, wow. Usually even fans can create their own ones, although Square is pretty harsh on breaking down copyright.
Pack your bags, friends. NoClip is heading to Tokyo.
Wouldn't be a documentary without like a travel scene. Wait, what is this? What's this little infomercial thing? What? Oh, you can't smoke, y'all. That's how horrible it was. When the coding was so bad they can't even figure out how to do it. Komodo, that's so funny. Hey, this music is dope. Okay. I will say the intro's a little bit long. The music's good, but the intro's a little bit long. Wait, what? Wait, what? What was that dance? I mean, hell yeah, pop off, Kings. Really small.
Hello and welcome to Shinjuku, Tokyo, home of Godzilla, restaurants full of dancing robots, and Square Enix, one of the most prolific video game companies in the world. For the past few months I've been playing catch-up with this story, playing the latest version of the game, talking to players, and watching community retrospective series like the Speakers Network's fantastic fall and rise of Final Fantasy XIV. My goal, to make sure we asked the right questions when we sat down with the team. During our time here in Shinjuku, we're going to talk to everyone from the engineers who worked on the original game, to localization leads, community managers, and even the CEO of the company. All to allow them the opportunity to tell their side of this fascinating story. The fall and rise of Final Fantasy XIV happened in real time in front of millions of people around the world. But we wanted to know about this story from an entirely new perspective, from inside the corporate machine that made it happen, that led to its terrible launch and ultimately its incredible rebirth.
My name is Michael Christopher Koji Fonks. I am the English localization lead for Final Fantasy XIV. My middle name being Koji, it's not something I gave myself, it's a name my father gave me. My father was stationed in Japan for 2 years in the Navy when he was young. Went back to the States. My mom had me. They wanted to give me a Japanese name. The family was having none of that, so they kind of snuck it in the middle name, but then they always called me Koji. And so I guess the joke was on the rest of the family. My dad, being in the Navy, didn't really learn a lot about Japan other than he really liked Japan, but didn't learn any of the language, so I always knew.
Wild. Hey, I don't know the language at all, but I want to give my kid a Japanese name.
That my name was Japanese, but beyond that, I really didn't know anything about Japan. But there was always that little seed in there. And then when I got into high school, there's a Japanese class, and I like games. Oh, they make games in Japan. Hey, let me study Japanese. If I study Japanese, I can play all those cool Japanese games that never come out over in America. And it kind of just snowballed from there. When I graduated from high school, I took a trip to Japan for 3 weeks, homestay type of thing, and I fell in love with it. And during that period, I got to visit a lot of schools and a lot of English classes in those schools. And I thought, wow, I know English, I could do this, this will be easy. It wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be, but
yeah, everyone says that.
A couple years.
Like everyone I've heard that's talked about like going to Japan to teach English says, yeah, it sounded cool at the time. It ended up being like terrible.
At a university in America, then transferred over to Japan, started over 4 years at a university in Japan.
Wow.
Got my teaching license, and yeah.
It's hard work being a teacher.
Yes, I mean, I loved it, but I mean, it was very draining. And that's why pretty much after you'd go to school, 6 in the morning for morning basketball practice, because I was the basketball coach, because as my principal said, hey, you're tall, you're the basketball coach. Then you'd get into classes. I mean, I'd have my homeroom class, then I'd have, 6 or 7 other classes teaching. Then you'd have after school, all of a sudden it's, oh, there's after school basketball, and then you'd get home and...
What do you mean English is a silly language? It's not just a bunch of other languages cut and glued together.
Correct. So I was really, always at school every day. It was very draining, and I would go home and I would play FF11. It was how I was able to relax, and being able to go into my little room and turn off the lights and put on my headphones and get into that world of Vana'diel was something that helped me escape from the stress. And then it just happened to be, one day I was online, checking for 11 related information, and I saw that Square Enix was looking for a translator, and it just kind of, wow.
That's serendipitous.
That would be really cool.
That's serendipitous. That's really cool.
Koji wasn't alone.
I'm sorry. What is this, chat? Please let me know what the heck this thing is.
Was launched in 2010.
It looks like an HD Muppet. Mithra? That's from 11? Ah, gotcha. The precursor to Makote.
But the story of this game starts 8 years earlier with the launch of Final Fantasy XI, Square's first MMO, the early days of online. Many of the team who worked on 14 started on 11.
One of those was Kasuga-san, who joined the company in 1999 to build a network infrastructure for this fledgling MMO.
自分はネットワークとサーバー担当で入っていて、なので一番最初にやっていたのが、当時
Oh, wait, it was online on the PlayStation 2?
厳密にはドリームキャスト
Wait a minute, wait a minute. The PlayStation 2 had online? What? How have I never known this? I bought a PlayStation 2 with money that I saved up by doing lawn work. How have I never known they had online things? And the Dreamcast had online connectivity?
ですけれども、プレイステーションプラットフォームとしてはオンライン要素が入った初めての時期だったので、
Oh, it had a whole
プレイ
like
ステーション2でネットワークを作るために、TCP/IP のドライバーを作ったりとか、まだ当時モデム通信の時代だったんで、あと ADSL がちょうど普及し始めた時期だったんで、ADSL の認証として使われた PPPoE とかっていうその本当にネットワークの下の部分、
we're doing part 1 for now, Tigris. We'll probably do it over multiple
っていう担
streams.
当で入社してました。
11に関して言うとね、スクエアエニックスって言いますか、スクエアが初めて、オンラインのあれだけの規模の、MMORPG 日本でやるってのはもう本当初めてだったんで、いやもう正直いろんなことがありましたよ当時ね。こんな言っちゃっていいのかな？言っちゃっていいの？
Looks at PR and laugh. You gotta love that. You got lawyers in the corner, got PR over here.
いいんだ。まずね、どういうことがあったかというと、あの時は
My first MMO that I ever played was RuneScape.
とかそういった先行事例あるんで。
I never played like Ultima or EverQuest or anything like
だ
that.
から今週末でやるなんてもう無謀の極みだとかってね、もうたくさんそういうふうに言われました。ソニーさんがPS2 のハードディスクBB キットなんかもですね、もう何台出すんだとか安堵がそういうのを吸ったもんだしていろんなことありましたんで、ほとんど不可能だとかでよく言われてましたよ実際には。
But 11 a private server, it was something
11 was my
else.
first
Yeah, I know that the
MMO. I hadn't
combat
played
was really
one
different from
before.
14.
I remember purchasing the PlayStation 2 broadband unit because they were all sold out. I ended up paying double on like some Yahoo auction or something like that.
Man, even back in the day, Sony getting scalpers going wild. Can't get a PS5, can't get a PS2 like Wi-Fi adapter. What's the world coming to me? What's the world coming to? Oh no. First game was Wizard 101. I played it once, but like places were locked out if you weren't paying for it. So I didn't pay for it, you know? It was your first as well? Heck yeah. And Arcus, I don't think I've talked to you yet today. Welcome on in. How you doing today?
Ridiculous.
Wait,
but
11's
I had
still
to play.
live?
We got a
Holy
new
shit.
internet connection. We were on a regular modem at that time, but because we needed a new modem, we had to upgrade to ISDN 128. But yeah, it was definitely
Boomer.
worth it. It was
Sorry,
something
what?
that was completely new to me, but fascinating. And ever since then, I've been into MMOs. That was the gateway drug for me. Going in from FF11 and then trying some of the Western MMOs as well. Getting into World of Warcraft, seeing the differences between the two.
Personally, I think it's very different. I mean, here in Japan from the Western market because, yeah, it is for everyone. In the
I'm sorry. It had a patch drop, Kumono? I'm sorry, what? Wow, it was so good back then? Yeah, it was. I played Lich King. That's when I started, and that was great. I can't believe they're still updating the game. I figured it was just like servers are live, but it's like a non-growing game. I know that EverQuest is still getting updates too. That's wild. That's so cool, honestly. Meanwhile, Overwatch 1 servers are shut down. That's not what I meant to click.
globe, I mean, its very first MMORPG on the console, PlayStation 2, and also, I mean, it was
Dude, that HUD is
first
rough,
ever
though.
cross-platform MMO between PlayStation 2 and Xbox 360. The obvious one is the most Japanese people don't really like to chat in public.
Right.
So, I mean, in the world, there's a lot of characters, but it's very quiet because people are using a tell instead of the say or shout. And then, but if you go.
I didn't even think about like MMOs having a different culture like that. That's kind of eye-opening, yeah. You had direct messages instead of saying out to the world. No one screaming Thunder Fury, Blessed Blade of the Windseeker.
To the Western world, game world, I mean, every single one is shouting around. So yeah, that's a huge difference.
You know, while in the West, you know, you have your EverQuests and you had your Ultima Onlines. In Japan, there was none of that. And then, so Final Fantasy XI was really one of the first
scare me a bit.
MMOs in Japan. And so getting to work with basically the pioneers of the Japanese MMO was really exciting. On the other hand, I mean, you could also say that it was possibly kind of a curse in the sense that they were all, you know, doing their own thing. They had their vision of what an MMO should be and what a Japanese MMO should be. And then me, again, not having played an MMO before, getting on this team and thinking, okay, this is an MMO, and translating away and working in that project, I kind of, you know, started thinking, okay, this is what an MMO is, this is what an MMO is. And then that one day I start playing WoW and it's like, oh, oh. Seeing the differences between the two and saying like, okay.
I mean, we still got booty shorts back then. We still got booty shorts back then. That's a victory. It's a victory for the boomers in chat. Hell yeah. A bunch of my friends in high school played and got me into it for all of a week. Oh no. Didn't catch ya, huh? Cultural thing you think where NA is usually vocal and pop and JP culture is more subdued and quiet? Yeah, definitely. Definitely, Tigress.
Thought was the norm in Final Fantasy XI, you know, the grinding for 20 hours to go up one level and then only to have your level drop when you know, pull too many crabs and it kills you and you've lost 5 hours worth. Like, I thought that was normal. And then
when you died, you lost XP and levels? Are you kidding me?
Base game, Final Fantasy XI
Holy moly!
Released, and they were working on the first expansion pack, Rise of the Zalart. I was part of the team that was working to get the base game and Rise of Zalart all translated before the Japanese Rise of Zalart was finished, so we could all release at the same time.
Right. Did you get it on time?
I got it on time. I haven't missed a deadline yet. That's one thing I'm proud of.
I like
Final Fantasy XI was a huge success for Square Enix. It established a concurrent user base of around 250,000 players for years.
Eureka does that? I mean, Eureka is its own, like, contained thing, though, right, Witchy? That's how old school MMOs work, then? That's wild, honestly. I never have experienced that in terms of playing a MMO. I'm too young. I'm too young. 28 and too young.
It was the most profitable Final Fantasy game ever, and at one stage was the 6th most popular game on all of Xbox Live. More than that, it established the Japanese style of MMO, and when the decision was made in 2005 to start work on a sequel, the new MMO was built around things that made 11 successful, focusing, like most Final Fantasy games do, on beautiful graphics and an interesting battle system. This new game was to be directed and produced by the same duo that shipped 11, series veteran Hiromichi Tanaka and Nobuaki Komodo. Final Fantasy XIV was announced for Windows and PlayStation 3 in 2009, but behind the scenes the development team was struggling to put the pieces of its new world together.
ファイナルファンタジー14のその最初のバージョンの、自分が見た時の一番大きな問題点、最終的にそれが問題だったと考えているものっていうのは、その最初のコンセプトとしてそのプランナーがスクリプトを書くことによってゲームを作っていこう。で利点としては、プランナーが考えて自分たちで実装するんで高速な開発ができる。要はそうじゃないと基本的にはプランナーさんものを考えて
This is a lot of technical stuff and I'm too dumb to follow.
開発者にエンジニアに相談してどう実装するかを決めてでゲームデザインをする人はそのどういうパラメータをいじりたいかとかを相談しながら
So they make scripts to automatically do things instead of having to consult the engineering side. So it almost sounds like they're building a lack of communication across departments just from the get-go by doing that. If the whole point is to create a cohesive game, why would you start by separating two departments, you know?
エンジニアと話をしてものを作っていかなきゃいけないんですけれども、そこの部分に関してスクリプトを導入すると自分で考えて自分で実現することができるようになるっていう発想でゲーム実装の大半がスクリプトで組まれてたんですね。 で
Ding ding, correct.
そのスクリプト UI の問題もそうなんですけれども、ゲームも UI も基本的にはスクリプトで書かれていて、でスクリプトを動かすエンジン側がかなり負荷が高いというか、
It sounds like
CPU をたくさん使わないと動かない状態になっているので、まあ、ちょっと
It gets worse,
ちょっとした
so much
何かをするだけで
worse. Oh, wow,
も
speaking
ゲ
of
ーム内で
worse.
少し何かをするだけでも非常に CPU リソースを使うことになっていて、まあ、すぐにサーバーが回るサイクルが遅くなっていくっていうことが問題として発生していました。で結果としてそのサーバーでできることはあとゲームとしてサーバーで実現できるところは少ないですし、
The flower pot
何かしようとすると
incident? Ooh,
負
do
荷が上
tell.
がっちゃうんで、じゃあそれを回避するためにどうしようとかっていうことで、結果的にそのゲーム内容としてリッチなものが実現できなくなっているってこと。
Wait, the lag is actually in game? It's not a shitty recording? No way. No way. 1.0 do you even have a jump button? No way. Code has to be programmed and compiled. It's more complicated. Scripts can be written by anyone and just popped in. Yeah, exactly. That's why scripts seem like, I feel like I would never create a game with scripts because then you're just begging to have a bad product, you know? The flower pots in Gridania have more polygons than the player character. No. And then they reversed it. They gave us the grapes, you know?
ことが起きてましたね。で UI もスクリプトで組まれていたので、まあ、なんかちょっと処理するだけでもすごい時間がかかるっていうような問題が発生していました。
Like I mentioned before, again, localization being in a position where we get to see all the parts come together first. We were some of the first to realize that, Houston, we have a problem. That type of situation. I mean, you had the battle team. They're like, yes, we have this great battle system, with stamina and these things that you could do. And then you had the story team. Like, yes, we have this story. Oh, hey, we have these guild leaves and all of these parts. And everyone was really, really proud of their parts. Look at this grass. It's so beautiful. Look at this barrel. It's the most beautiful barrel ever to be, represented in graphical form.
It's got as many polygons as the character.
Yes, and all of those parts, all of these teams, again, very, very proud of their work. I mean, the team was, put together with some of the best minds in Square Enix. You had people that were, leads that could probably even, lead their own projects, were all come together, and it became a lot of just tiny little groups making something that was really great. But once you put it together, it was kind of a mess. And no one really knew that, except...
Wait, no. The Japanese team thought that we were being mean about the grapes? No, that's so sad. Yeah, I imagine, heavy sarcasm is very difficult to translate in other languages. According to the, at the time, producer, we don't need jumping in the game. Every game is better with jumping. Every game. Yeah, meanwhile, the new God of War doesn't have jumping either, and Kratos is blocked by a chest-high wall. It's ridiculous.
Except for localization and probably QA as well, and we're like, okay, we need to do something, but by then it was one of those, it's kind of too late to do anything. But for us, we would be looking at the text, and some of it, it wouldn't make sense, or it would just be very bland, and thinking, if there's any way to make this game better, what can we do? It's like, well, I can take this text and maybe add some more stuff into it, add some more flavor to it, and maybe that will distract people from the fact that the battle is not that fun.
That's cute.
At a fundamental level,
all right, we have to do as much damage control as we can. Make puns. Make so many puns, please. The response to having a jump button is jump. Why we need jumping? Yep. That was Philemine in 1.0? Wait, it was?
Piecemeal design of the game was causing problems. Graphics were inconsistent. While many elements of the world were copy and pasted ad nauseum, some environmental objects had as many polygons and shaders as a character model. The battle system was just confusing. The game didn't have elements fundamental to most modern MMOs, things like jumping, auto attack, and the ability to interact with the map using a mouse. It had a system that nerfed hardcore players to make sure they didn't level up too fast. The UI was confusing. Crafting was incredibly complex and took forever, and simply there just wasn't enough content. The closed beta wasn't going well. They needed more time to fix these problems, so the open beta was pushed back to within a month before launch. The team knew there were problems, and they were getting frustrated.
で、今まで話していた仕事っていうのは大体その2010年の1月から、実際にリリースされる8月ぐらいまでの間にやっていたことで、 ゲームが本当に良くないっていうのがこう、みんなに認識されて自覚されていくっていうのは
How does the game get all the way to beta before like, oh, something's wrong? I feel like it really is just lack of communication, it seems. Lack of communication and pride, from what I've seen so far. It's like, hey, we made this cool shit. How dare you tell us to, dumb it down a bit? You know? They didn't want a mini-map originally. Why? Puns are so loved that the Japanese fan base for asking to have puns in their own. That's cute. I love that.
が始まってっていう、8月9月10月ぐらいまでの期間に起きたことなんですね。で、実際にはこうチーム内の意識としてもリリース前、そのベータが始まる前から本当にこれをリリースしていいものかどうかっていう議論はある程度そのチーム全体でオフィシャルであったわけではないですけれども、開発者の中ではやはりその世に出していいクオリティかどうかっていうところは。
Naga had the opinion it could be fixed later, like with. Oh, okay. Okay. So it wasn't like we don't want one, but it's more like we don't have the resources and time. That makes more sense. And
議論がありました。
When 1.0 was getting made, was the mentality that, oh, we're not like, that's like their thing and we have our very own successful thing over here, we're going to just make another one of those?
Right, and that's really what it felt like, is that we're going to continue doing what we did because it succeeded before, why wouldn't it succeed again? And seeing that direction, them taking that direction, and knowing that, having worked on 11, that yes, they were very successful, seeing the success that they had with Final Fantasy XI, seeing these great creators, creating something that was, revolutionary. But then on the other hand, knowing that what they were doing was, yeah, but maybe that worked 6 or 7 years ago, but a lot of things have changed since then. And I think there was even one guy on the localization team that got to that point where he just got so frustrated that he just wrote this scathing mail and sent it out to the whole team before telling anyone else on localization he was going to write it. And then we all get it at the same time, the devs team. We're reading it, it's like, wow, this is really terrible. I hope he doesn't, he sent it to the whole team. Because he just got really frustrated.
Yo, bro sent the howler to the whole company. Holy shit. No. That's terrible. And very funny. Holy moly. Oh my god.
To him,
Base,
they were
exactly.
being very stubborn. They weren't, they hadn't moved on. Whereas the rest of the world
Take some
had
falls
moved
balls,
on
Ramos.
and adapted, with the release of WoW and what they had done.
Ooh,
Whereas,
pain in my chest
the
from
team
seeing
here
World
was
of
like, no,
Warcraft.
we're going to stick with what we know, and that's good enough.
Then start feeling more concerning the situation. This is not fixed.
His hair
not
is
fixed,
gorgeous.
Not fixed. You announced the launch date, but it's not fixed. So, but still, some major portion of people are still thinking, believing. No, it's better, still better. Better phase, last phase, but still better. So it could be, fixed or.
Well, that was actually good. I know.
Kind of went from thinking, okay, this project's going to be great, to, there might be some problems. Can we fix them? Can we fix them? Okay, we can't fix them. Is there anything we can do? I don't know. It was a very taxing experience.
Oh,
The team crossed their fingers.
Wow, you could see the emotion. Look at that. You can see that emotion in his eyes, too.
It was a very taxing experience.
The team crossed their fingers and hoped that the game's beta problems were simply that, the same issues that most MMOs have, ones that could be fixed with patches once the game entered live operations. And so Final Fantasy XIV Online launched on September 30th, 2010. It sold well its first week, and after a month had over 600,000 for 30th, 2010. It sold well.
Ida Papalymo! Look at them in all their glory. Aww.
Its first week, and after a month had over 600,000 players swarming into its world. But it didn't take long for the cracks to appear. The problems in the beta were echoed by new players. The game was sluggish, the servers crashed, and Eorzeans quickly ran out of things to do.
I do
Quests were
love the
limited, and the
Molotovs running
fatigue
this.
system even made grinding for XP next to impossible. Critics ate it alive too.
Let's get right down to it. Unless you've got the patience of Job or some kind of masochist, you shouldn't play Final Fantasy XIV. Its problems are so vast that I could spend hours talking about them.
Wow.
The awful interface, the recycled content, the stringent limits on questing, the useless maps, the stupid market ward. These issues and dozens more constantly have you asking that age-old question, what were they thinking?
Yo! Damn! He just burned him alive! Oh my god! Holy moly! He killed him! Someone called ambulance!
What was it like seeing public reaction?
Yeah, it was very, very disheartening, because you'd want to look at those and you'd want to say, no, they don't understand, they don't know what's going on here.
You were savage.
But deep down, you'd know they were right, and that was what kind of that dagger in your heart and it's twisting, because you want to defend what you worked on. The people that I worked with are the greatest people. I still work with a lot of them. I had worked with them before in FF11. I consider them not only co-workers but friends. But
dude, this guy
and then
is
you
so
see people
wholesome.
online, bashing the work they did, and I know how hard they worked. I know how many hours they put in. I know that, like, in the last 3 or 4 months, people were basically living at work, all putting their 100% into this game that was, destined to
Koji is amazing,
kind of
which
crash
you're
and
right.
burn. And then to have people online just say, oh, that sucks, this person is a piece of shit, or their work is terrible. It hurts, but it hurts more because if I was not here and was a user and had played that game, I probably would have said the same thing.
そうですね、当時はね、私CFO やってたんで見てたんですけれども、ローンチのタイミングやっぱり一番大きく違ったのは11の時のいろいろごたごたねと9の14の時のごたごた一番違うっていうのは、11の時はいろいろごたごたあったけど、ゲームに関して言うと
It's wild how
相当やっぱ
different
り
it
その
looks
程度やっぱ
too.
り受け
The
入
game
れ
is
相当
it's like
のやっぱり
barely anything
評
looks
価され
the
たんです
same.
よね。で、
Like
まあ、
character
オペレー
models,
ション上の、ね、トラブルとか
pretty
ってい
much
ろい
that's
ろ
it.
あるっていう、これはある程度つきもので、大変だったんですけれども、それはあったんですけど、ゲーム内容に関して言うと非常に評価されたというふうに理解してますけれども、前作の場合の一番やっぱ私はちょっとまずいなこれって思ったのは、やっぱりゲーム自体の評価が非常に厳しいものだったということですね。これはちょっとやっぱり相当大丈夫かなというのを、ロ
They
ー
did a
ン
lot
チ
of
した後
mocap oh, really? I didn't know that, Kovu. They dumped the engine? Yeah. That makes sense, they dumped the engine.
それはそうですね、ローンチして、しばらく経って、そんなに長い期間じゃなかったですね。そうしばらくなんで、やっぱり相当なこのままで大丈夫なのかという、社内でも相当やっぱり議論ありましたからね。
The first few months was just an endless stream of translating apology mails from producers and directors and finding out, trying to figure out different ways of saying we're sorry, because the more you say it, the less weight it has. But Japan being a country where people apologize a lot, that's part of the culture. But then trying to translate that, it's like, okay, this is the 10th time I've said sorry in this one post, and then from the American myself, it's like, yeah, people are going to look at that as insincere. The more you apologize, the more and then trying to explain that to the team, it's like, no, we have to apologize. It's like, yes, you have to apologize, but and it just became, we weren't talking about the game anymore.
Bankrupted
We were talking
Square.
about
Holy
how
moly.
to translate apologies, and it seemed like that lasted for a couple months.
Actually, we see a huge drop. Right after the launch timing, we got some good number of the subscribers. Then that fall. As you can imagine. So it was failure, and we announced a failure. So we see lots of decline.
さっきも話した通り、実際にはその開発内でも今リリースすべきかっていうか、リリースできるクオリティにあるかっていうのはベータ直前とかベータが始まってもそうなんですけど、常に疑問はあったので、リリースして実際にただそれまでにチーム内にあった空気はやはり出したら意外と受け入れられる可能性があるんじゃないかっていう 漠然としたその出せばどうにかなるのかも、その自分たちが思っているほど
Oh,
悪
this
く
is
ないのかも
rough.
ってい
Oh,
う
this
そ
is
の
rough to hear. Oh, yeah. It's like, what can you do as an individual at that point, right? It's like all you can do is your best. Because as like a regular worker and programmer, like what can you do? It's all above your head. So all you can do is like hope that your work pays for its like pays off. And wow, that's rough.
何の根拠もないと希望的なものがあったんですよね。で出た結果結局そんな魔法は起きなくて、やはりその自分たちが感じている通りにまだ世に出すには早いというか、世に出せるクオリティに達していない商品を出してしまったっていう気持ちはみんなにあったので、実際にその改善しなきゃっていうか根本的に対応しなきゃいけないっていうところはチーム内に割とすぐ広がったと思ってます。なので特にすごいそんなことはないっていう意見がすごく強くあって、誰かを説得しなきゃいけないみたいなことは特になかったですね。
You did a good enough job, and everyone else did too. Pretty much, Roro. Just crossing your fingers and your toes at the same
Today,
time.
Square Enix is based across multiple floors in a modern office complex in Shinjuku, Tokyo. It's a company that is often designing multiple projects at once. And while Final Fantasy XIV was being developed, in another part of the building a different game was being made. Produced by a Final Fantasy fan, his name, Naoki Yoshida.
一番最初はファミリーコンピューター、US だとエンターテインメントシステムかのマリオブラザーズが一番最初にプレイしたゲームです。とにかくそのテレビの中、テレビっていうのはその見るものだと思っていた子供の時に、ところがそのマリオブラザーズで初めてそのコントローラーを握ってゲームをプレイした時に、まずそもそもテレビのものを自分が自由に動かせるっていうことがものすごいショックで、友達の家でプレイさせてもらったんだけど、ものすごい興奮したのを覚えてますね。ドラゴンクエストっていう日本で RPG を大きく広めた。
Tigris, 100%. Best decision they ever made was bringing in Yoshi P. Yoshi P. Blessed be thy name.
タイトルを初めて触った時に、アクションではないゲーム、数字のやり取りでこんなにまたさらにゲームは面白くなるんだっていうのを、特にストーリーラインがあってっていう、また次のカルチャーショックを受
I've
け
actually
て
not played very many Dragon Quests. I
RPG
played
ってジャ
the
ンルに
most
ものすご
recent
く
one on the Switch. That was about it.
なんだろう、フォーカスしていくことになったかなとは思います。当然その
Or sorry, not the most recent one. The one that was the remake of the older one. Oh, which was it? I can't remember at the top of my head, but I've only played like one.
出た
one
ファ
of
イナル
them
ファ
so
ンタジ
far.
ーにもその映画的なその演出、ファンタジーをより強く打ち出したっていうところにもすごい衝撃を受けてたので、
8, that's one I
やっぱり
played.
僕の中でドラゴンクエストとファイナルファンタジーっていうのはすごい大きかったですね、当時。
Like most Japanese players at the time, Yoshida-san played all the early Final Fantasy games. He holds them in high regard, though he still holds the bitter memory of not being able to save before the last dungeon in Final Fantasy III. But when he was 11 years old, a brand new type of gaming experience arrived at home. His uncle gave him a PC. On this PC, the young gamer learned how to program BASIC. His first video game centered around trying to break into a bank vault. But this PC also exposed him to a spectrum of gaming that eluded most Japanese players: Western role-playing games. He fell in love with games like Diablo.
Wow, this is like a match made in heaven then, huh? It's like this kid in love with the franchises you created, then got a computer which he learned to program with and play Western style RPGs. Like Yoshi P was built perfectly for this scenario. The stars, yeah, exactly. The stars literally aligned. Yoshi P was the perfect person for this. That's incredible. Oh, that's also not what I wanted to do.
And was stunned when he first went online and played with other players.
でその翌年にウルティマオンラインをベータからプレイし、先輩にとにかくすげえゲームあるって言われて、ウルティマオンラインをベータから始めたのが
The graphics remind me a lot of like Heroes of Might and Magic.
作品で、やっぱり同じようなその3回目の衝撃、3000人が同時に一つの世界で遊ぶっていうのがもうとてつもないまた衝撃でしたね。まあウルティマは本当に自由度の、ウルティマオンラインは特にとにかく初期は自由度がめちゃくちゃ高いゲームだったので、その いわゆるロードの称号をつけたそのなんて言ったらいい
The
の
title of Lord? Okay, that's pretty
すご
cool.
く
That's
紳
pretty
士的な
cool.
というかコミュニティリーダー的プレイを
Created a completely
する
evil
キャラクター
character?
と
Yoshi
完全
P!
に悪のプレイヤーキラーをやるキャラクターを2つ作ってどっちも
Double
ものす
life.
ごい遊んでたしやっぱりその MMORPG っていうゲームがどう作られているのかどういったエンジニアリングが必要なのか
So
って
you can see that in Final Fantasy. You have Yoshi P's beautiful side, and you also have Yoshi P's evil Peking side. That's why he feeds off our tears. Because he creates these glorious scenarios with his good side, and then his evil side crushes us in sorrow.
っていうのもものすごいそこで勉強させてもらったと思います。もうその頃からはコンソールと同じぐらいの比重で PC でゲームをかなり遊ぶようになってたので自分で PC パーツ買ってきて組み立てたりしてたしでやっぱりそのあたりで FPS もかなりプレイし始めてたし特に 3DMMO のスタートであるエヴァクエストその後プレイをし始めて当時エヴァクエストのパッケージを日本で手に入れるのが本当に大変で出張で東京に来た時に秋葉原をね時間を作ってゾンビのように店をこううろうろして
Just please, please, do you have EverQuest? I need
エヴァ
it,
クエストって何で
please.
すかって
He means Black Meat to explode us? Dear God.
Yoshida-san would embark on a career in
hello.
games that would eventually see him joining Square Enix to work on the Dragon Quest series. Though he wasn't working on the Final Fantasy team, he was part of the umbrella group that was allocating programmers to various projects. He didn't have granular visibility on FF14, but he knew the team was struggling. I asked from his perspective as a producer where he thought the game's problems were coming from.
Thought he made Black
わかん
Meat
ないこ
doubles
れ
cook
広報に
dinners.
カットされるのかもしれないけどクリスタルツールズって呼ばれるミドルウェアを全社でその作ろうとしていたので腕のいいプログラマーが全部そのチームに各なんだろうゲームラインから招集されてそのメインプログラマーがみんないないっていう状態になってしまったのでどのプロジェクトもものすごい大変な時期だった。
This is a perfect storm of
オ
terrible
リジナル
things
の
happening.
14がああなってしまった理由の一つでもあるかなとは思いますけどさらに2つ大きな問題がそこに絡まっていてスクエアエニックスその全体にプレイステーション2のジェネレーションで本当に世界一クオリティグラフィックスのクオリティが高い
Honestly, Final Fantasy X Final Fantasy X was one of the most graphically beautiful games I'd ever experienced at the time. Even now, it still looks gorgeous with the opening cutscenes. Like when Sin first comes, and there's a giant orb of water being sucked into the sky. Ugh. And then Yuna dancing. 10 was amazing. I love that game so much.
たくさんリリースしたので本当にこうなんていうんだろうある意味自信過剰にもうなっていた時期で自分たちが世界一だし
Yoshi P's drip? Oh my
自分
gosh.
たちの
That
グラフィ
jewelry
ッ
though?
クスこそが世界一だしその作り方はその自分たちにしかできないだからなんだろうでも超巨大な成功体験ってやっぱり足かせというかにもなる例だと思うんですけど
Best laugh in gaming history, true. Ah ha 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 ha. Ah ha 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 ha. How's that? Is that good, Shim?
ものすごくおごってた、まあ、悪い言い方をすればおごってた時期だったと思うんですね。まず例えるとその刀を作る刀匠のような職人たちが本当にたくさんいて彼らが一つずつを手作りで作って世界一のクオリティを作り上げていたんだけど
Oh, I know it's supposed to be forced. It's still just funny. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying that it's just funny. I understand that it was supposed to be a forced laugh, but it's still funny regardless.
実は世界は、まあ、特にその北米を中心にテクノロジーでそれをカバーするっていうところをずっと追求してきた時期でプレイステーション3の世代になった瞬間にテクノロジーの方がそれを上回るっていう時期が来たせいで作り方を変えようとはしない し、だけど
So it seems
テ
they're
クノロ
very
ジー
entrenched
も追
in
い
their
つけない
previous success, is what Yoshi P
こ
seems
と
to
か
be
ら
saying.
さらにそ
Like
れ
they
を
got to be so successful that they just believed that they were the innovation, rather than looking outside of themselves, seeing how the world was progressing. Zan, how you doing? Welcome to stream. How goes it?
ってるはずのプログラマーたちはミドルウェアの制作に行ってるっていう状態で、でもグラフィックス作ってるそのアーティストたちは自分たちの作り方こそが世界一だと思ってるので、古い作り方で引き続きものすごく負荷のかかるやり方でアセットを作ってたので、もうそれらが絡まってっていうのがまあもう一つの大きな、さっき2つあるって言った問題の1つ目がそれですね。もう一つはプライドはいついかなる時でもとても大切なものだとは思うんですけど、
Yo,
そこにやっぱ
I
り
have so much respect for Yoshi P right now. Like, there's so many ways you could try to like get out of saying this stuff or try to spin it in a more positive way. Yoshi P is staring down the barrel of the gun like, yeah, these were the fucking problems we had, and they weren't addressed. Yoshi P is based. They're like a manual, hands-on approach, but everyone else is using technology to streamline things. Yeah, I guess it's hard to strike a balance between that because you want that manual, hands-on approach. But even them, they're saying they're doing scripts for the game, and that's not even hands-on. That's just them, you know, I hate to say being lazy because obviously they work their hands to the bone, but it's like using the easier tool at that point.
超巨大な成功体験をしたっていうこと自体が乗っかってきちゃうと、その自分たちの作るゲームこそがベストであって他をあんまり見る必要がないっていう時期でもあったんじゃないかなと思っていて、例えば当時世界多分 MMORPG を知ってる人に世界最大の MMORPG は何ですかって言ったら100人に聞いたら100人がワールド・オブ・ウォークラフトって言ったはずなのに誰もプレイしてない。
Yeah, it just seems like they were very insular. They thought that they were correct without allowing any sort of doubt to creep in.
その自分たちが世の中に対して新しいそのビデオゲームをリリースしようとするときに
It upset him a lot to even have to tell us they were pushing back on market by 2 weeks. That's so cool. So know how he did it, but he did it. I don't understand. He's definitely a titan in the industry. I feel like what Yoshi P did for the company earned him the respect of Square. Just give him the freedom to tell the raw story. He earned it. I feel like Square Enix was like, you are our golden goose. Just keep doing what you're doing. Oh, gotcha, Nim. Thank you.
ライバルになるタイトルは何だろうとか、ユーザーは今プレイヤーはどこにそのゲームエクスペリエンスの最新の状態をプレイしてるんだろうっていうのを知らないっていうのが、その感覚として僕には結構信じられない。なんでもっとみんなゲームプレイしないの？だって自分たちが今どのあたりにいるか分かんなくなっちゃうよっていうのが、まあ、言いたい。で特に14の場合に関してはもちろんファイナルファンタジー11の超巨大な成功体験っていうのが邪魔をしたっていうのもあるとは思うんだけど、あの当時はエヴァークエストを徹底的にプレイをしてだからこそ11を作ったはずなのに、新しいレストランをオープンするときに隣にあるレストランがどんなメニューを出していてどんなサービスをしているかを知らずにレストラン作る回転させる人はいないんじゃないって。
So just at the launch stage then of 1.0, what was the feeling within Square Enix? The beta was quite close to launch. Were people anticipating that there would be negative feedback, or were they less aware that that was going to happen, I guess?
僕は他のチームにいてすごくベータの評判が悪いっていうのはネットでニュースは見てましたね。ただ多かれ少なかれ MMORPG のローンチは
That hat does not do the Lawless any good.
荒れやすい。
Like every time I see them put a clip up with Lawless, it has that hat.
まあストレステストをやってるけどプレイヤーの方は遊びたいからやっぱりサーバーが落ちるとやっぱりすごく文句を言って当然だと思いますし、だから僕もやっぱり11を作ったチームだからまあそうは言っても11のやっぱり完成度が高いのでそこと比較をして あの機能がないこの機能がないっていう話をしてるのかなっていうふうに思ってた。僕は僕自身の開発が忙しかったのもあって、ただそれも少しずつ収まっていくんだろうなっていうふうに僕は当時は見てた。
Will I be like, am I a clown to you? Do I look like a fucking clown? Not only did he delay Endwalker for 2 weeks due to issues he acknowledged only he was being picky about, but he wanted things to be perfect. I mean, honestly, so far. I submitted over 100 bug reports in beta come 1.01 was addressed. You played the beta, Asayumi? That's so cool! I know we have a couple of people that have been playing since 1.0. That's awesome. Your back made Eggs Benedict for dinner. I've only tried making Beggs Benedict. You thought I've been streaming for a while, chat? I only tried to make it once, and I made it terrible. Way too citrusy. 14's why Square Enix is currently profitable? Really? I guess a lot of their like recent games haven't been the most well received. Good point.
ただ別の角度、今度はそのオリジナルの14チームの中のその視点としては、このままだと本当にまずいもっと時間をかけて品質を上げないとっていう、もちろん声を上げる人たちもいたけれど、会社ってまあ全体の判断としてはファイナルファンタジー11のスタートもそうだったと。機能たくさんなかったし、ものすごくネガティブなフィードバックもたくさん来たけど、パッチでどんどん直していって11は完成したんだから14も大丈夫だと、最初は絶対こうなんだっていうふうに判断したので、ベータを終わらせてリリースへ踏み切ったっていうのが当時の。
So I'm reading chat and y'all are saying like this game is carrying the whole company right now, and like I'm just imagining like Square Enix shuffling up to Yoshi P like, can we have some Final Fantasy money please to make this game? Oh, it's wild. Version 1.0 Legacy players get to glamour those Charlie and Archon tattoos. Oh, okay. 14's why games like Babylon's Fall come out and flop. Oh my god, Babylon's Fall. It's why I'm so pumped for Final Fantasy 16. The team of 14 is working on it with Yoshi P as the producer. Yeah, I am so excited for 16, Tigress. Was it Q1 or Q2 of next year? I can't remember. Legacy players have a specific tattoo on their upper backs. Okay, Witchy. They also get a special chocobo if they were subbed during the lead up to 2.0. And it's a toggle, okay. I was going to ask that, Komodo, because it's like, what if I don't want the tattoo? Oh, so you played the beta and you're like, fuck that. That's fair, Asayumi. Ooh, I didn't even think of the cash shop too, Drake. I was just thinking of subscriptions. Q2? It's probably going to get delayed too. I'm so excited for it, but oh man, I just need it now. I need it now!
ジャッジだったって、僕はチームに入ってからインタビューをしてそれを確認したので、チームの中ではやっぱり議論はあったそうです。あのままじゃダメ、まずいっていう話は。ただ最終的なジャッジは今お話しした通り、11の時もそうだった。でも11だってずっとパッチを続けて、ああなったじゃないかと。
Come on! Don't care how I want it now. How dare you Willy Wonka at me, Witchy? How dare you? A snoresberry? What on earth is a snoresberry? Ah!
Eventually, corporate realized that this wasn't usual launch problems, so they called on a few select members of the team to create a task force. This task force would research what changes the game needed and the resources the development environment would require to do the work. Members of that team would talk to Yoshida-san about their worries after hours. His thoughts were that the current organizational structure would need to be modified if the team was going to make the changes required. In October of 2010, Yoshida-san talked to the then Square Enix president Yoichi Wada and suggested they initiate a company-wide emergency to get the team the resources they needed. Wada-san spent a few days talking to the 14 development team about their concerns, and while a lot of the team had suggested that the current task force was in fact up to the task,
Yeah, okay.
some members of the 14 team had pleaded to have Yoshida-san join the project to help. And so it transpired that in late November, corporate took the decision to remove Hiromichi Tanaka from the team and move Nobuaki Komodo from director to lead designer. Both of their vacant positions would be filled by Yoshida-san.
Wait. Yoshida had to do both of them? They really did just comment and go, you go away. You go away. Yoshi P, you are our last hope, please. Damn. Yoshi P should be CEO, like Jesus.
At that time, he was leading a team that was working on an original IP for Square Enix. He was disappointed to leave that team, but excited for the opportunity to work on one of the company's crown jewels, a numbered Final Fantasy game. So, he got right to work.
やらなきゃいけないことが当時3つあると思ってて、順番にやってったんですけど、まずそのチームに、オリジナルのチームにトップが変わります。で、あとそのタスクフォースメンバーもそのまま開発コアとしてリードに入りますっていう当然話をしなきゃいけない全チームに。ただ僕はドラゴンクエスト側のゲームを開発することが多かったので、そのほとんどのスタッフを知らないというか、顔と名前ぐらいは知ってるスタッフはいたけど、その一緒に仕事したことがある人がほとんどいなかったので、まず「Say hello」っていうところからで、一度もみんな仕事したことがないから、どんな仕事をする人間なのかを見てくれればいいよってまずで、こいつダメだと思ったら
Yo! Oh, I was not expecting that. I thought I was gonna say, like, well, if you don't like how I do my job, you can come up and we can talk about it. Nah, he's like, you don't like how I do it? Bye! Get on out of here. That's a mic drop if I ever saw one. Holy shit. Same as Yoshi P, you're our only hope. He still does both. He does both jobs still, Shim? That's wild. Part of this was Yoshida went to higher ups and flat out told them that be a 1.0 was going to kill the Final Fantasy brand. Holy shit. You need to watch. I will watch it after Yumi, definitely. If someone wants to post the nutshell video in the Discord, cool vids, that'd be best so I don't forget it. Oh, he's at the board of directors. Okay, that makes sense. Good. Good. He needs to be. Have you not seen the credits? No, I have not. Like, the credits start, and I look at the pictures, and then after a bit, I skip the credits. Another sign of Square Enix's faith in him is that when he said to stop selling games post-Endwalker, they did it. Oh. Yeah, Yoshi P powerful.
チームも抜けて構わないからっていう話を最初にして、一緒に仕事してみよう。でも1回はいいよねって。でそれでダメだと思ったら本当すぐ抜けて構わないから3ヶ月ぐらいまず一緒にやろうよっていう話を僕スピーチでした記憶があります。でもう1回チャレンジするよ。当然その時申請するなんて話はまだ計画がなかったので、とにかく立て直しをやるよと、ギブアップはしないよっていう話をした時に、僕を知ってる何人かはよしやるぞっていう人たちと、もう無理だよっていう人たちと、なんだよこの急な体制変更って言って怒ってる雰囲気の人たちとっていうのが大体のその時の雰囲気でしたね。そんな中で今も14のサウンドディレクターやってるソケンがその話をしてた時と大きなホールだったんですけど、2階のサウンドブースで僕のマイクの調整とかやってくれてて、そのソケンがあいつだけですよやり直すぞっていうか、リベンジするぞって言ったらガッツポーズしてたのはあいつだけです。今でも覚えてますよ。2階席で
God, I love Soken too.
あいつ。
I saw both reactions. I saw the, oh my God, we just went through a year of hell and now he's asking us to go through a year and a half of hell to this point that might, be another failure because, no one had taken a game and rebuilt it in this manner before. So basically,
game's too popular, shut off the free trial and stop selling it. Wait, what? Because I know that he stopped the sales of it right when I first joined. Because I joined in November of last year, right before they shut down sales. It was like a couple days. I couldn't play for the first 3 or 4 weeks. I couldn't even make a character for a bit. And then when I would be able to play, the queue times were like 5,000, 6,000 people. Wild. We did Yorochi? Hell yeah.
He's saying like, yeah, you just have to trust me, and yeah, you could, you know, waste another year and a half of your life and it could be a failure, and, you know, but you're gonna have to believe me on this one. And so yeah, a lot of people are like, I can't do this anymore, I don't know. And I can understand that, because again, it was a gamble. But then on the other hand, there were, I mean, a lot of us, you know, myself included, but I mean, a lot of people on the team that were like, no, I mean, we worked so hard on this, and we did our jobs the best that we could, but for a lot of, you know, reasons, some circumstances that were out of our control, you know, decisions made by higher ups, decisions made by other teams that have, you know, affected our work, and nothing that we could do about it. But we had put our all into it, and we were invested in the project.
Hey,
and we still believed
Stormer.
in the project.
Dragon
to have
Dad.
someone from the outside come in, and not just come in to
There
say,
he is.
okay, you know, forget it, we're just going to do it my way or the highway. He's like, you know, he asked our opinions. He laid out a roadmap. He gave us a vision and a hope. And even though it seemed like it would be difficult to achieve, it didn't seem inconceivable.
Yoshi P knew there was no time to wait. He worked with corporate to make sure the team had time off, both for them to relax, but also to give him time to build his new vision, to do research playing other MMOs, and to help draft his plan, to deliver the vision and how the
master
team was going to
plan.
do it. They had very little time to fix this game, so once they started, the specifications document would have to be watertight. And as captain of the ship, he needed to be able to answer every question the team may have, quickly.
Yoshida-san was now at the helm of his first Final Fantasy, and as an avid MMO fan, he was looking forward to getting in there and fixing it. What he couldn't have known at this stage was the scale of the job ahead of him, that no matter how much they patched Final Fantasy XIV Online, they couldn't ever fix it. What they'd have to do was something that no developer had ever done, to rebuild an entire MMO while the original version was still running.
Man's a
I
madman.
think that they realized
He's a
immediately that it
madman,
was
a
something
mad
that couldn't be
genius.
solved via patches. I think they still believe that, you know, if we patch it, it'll be fine. And it wasn't until they reevaluated and then brought in, you know, the new blood. Yoshida-san came in and told them, okay, yeah, this is not something that can be patched. If we want to fix this, we're going to have to take a drastic step.
Yoshida spent 7 weeks researching and returned with 2 options for corporate. It was then he realized that it would be impossible to convert the current game into an MMO that could last the test of time. Ultimately though, this was a decision that corporate had to make. So he returned with not 1, but 2 plans. Plan A and Plan B. During this meeting, he explained that Plan A would be to patch the game and make it more playable, but that ultimately the game would never really satisfy players, and though Square Enix may make their money back, the damage to the online brand would be catastrophic. And then there was Plan B.
What about
今
Plan
の
B
ファイナル
is?
ファンタジー4当時のオリジナルのファイナルファンタジー14をパッチを当ててそのできる限りポジティブに遊べるものにしながら裏で全く新しいそのファイナルファンタジー14をもう一度作り直すっていうのがプラン B でまあその話だけを聞くと、まあ、そんなバカなってなるので当然どうやってそれを達成するかチームを2つに分けてでどういったそのマネジメントスタイルでそれをやるのかで大体発売時期はプレイステーション3版をリリースするっていうのがプレイヤーとの約束だったのでプレイステーション3の寿命が来る前にリリースしなきゃいけないので2012年年末から2013年中には絶対リリースできるこの計画であればっていうプレゼンテーションをしてリスクは高いただ当然そんなことをしたことはないしゲーム業界で
Almost the same
しかも
title.
同じタイトルで作り直してるからうまくいったとしても成功するかどうかは分からないただ少なくともやっぱりファイナルファンタジーってクレイジーだねとかすごいことするねとか少なくとも自分たちがミスしたことを認めて信頼を取り戻そうとしたっていう努力は見てくれてる人は多分見てくれるだろうだからどっちをチョイスするかは会社に任せるっ ただどっちであっても全力でやるよっていう話をプレゼンテーションして、まあ、結果的には、ね、
Of course, you may be
言
aware
ってくれたんで、今こうなってます。
that Realm Reborn does in fact exist. Oh, the PS3's limitations are why the Realm Reborn textures were bad. Okay.
Final Fantasy XIV 1.0 was in a state of disarray. Square
X-Day, thank you for the follow. How you doing today?
Enix had decided to suspend subscriptions to help ease the negativity around the game, while the PS3 version was indefinitely postponed. For the next 2 years, Yoshida-san and his team would work tirelessly on not one, but 2 MMOs, patching the original 1.0 to fans' expectations, while secretly working on a brand new version of Final Fantasy XIV. In our next episode, we focus on that 2-year period and tell the incredible story of the falling moon of Dalamud, the death of 1.0, and the birth of a new AORZ.
Is that just a wall of goobos? Sorry, was that just a wall of goobos? Excuse me? Oh, regardless, part 1 of the documentary was fantastic. No clip. The editing, the clarity, the way you like go through and voice the whole thing with such like a palm is amazing. I really enjoyed that. That was absolutely fantastic. Hachi Machi. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to watching the other 2 after a bit. Well, thank you so much for watching. Hey y'all, I hope you enjoyed that, because I certainly did. I had no idea about a lot of this stuff. I mean, I've heard some tangential anecdotes, but it's really cool to kind of hear that story of the beginning that I never got to experience. Make sure to like and subscribe, because it really supports the channel. If you want to do a little bit extra, check out the Patreon. I'd like to thank my patron members, John Best, Rorolai, Sven Folger, and Rosalia Streaming Network. And as always, have a lovely day.